Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be drafting a shirt pattern. So you can use pattern paper, but I'm going to draft it on this lining. This is starting line. From the starting line to this line is my chest line, my bust line, half of my round armhole. From the starting line to this is 17 inches, my waist measurement, my waist line. From the starting line to this line is my hip line, 24 inches. From starting line to this is the length of the dress, 40 inches. And this is 2.5 inches for button. So now I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So from this line, all my measurement will start from this line. So I'll mark 8 inches here. From this shoulder measurement, I'll come down by 1 inch. So on this side, I'll mark my neck width of 3 inches. Neck depth of 3.5 inches. I'll connect it. I used neck width of 3 inches and neck depth of 3.5. So you know standard neck measurement is 3 by 3. So because it's shirt dress, that's why I added extra ½ inch. I came down by ½ inch, so 3.5. So but the back neck width and front neck width will be the same. So I'm going to use 3 inches also at the back width. Then I will use ½ inch for neck depth for the back pattern. So but another thing you can do, I use it also, is to take neck measurement of the person that you're making the shirt for. If you take the neck measurement, to get the neck width is neck measurement divided by 6 to get the neck width. And to get the neck depth is neck measurement divided by 6 plus ½ inch. For instance, that you're working with neck measurement of 15 inches, 15 divided by 6 is 2.5. You will mark 2.5 for your neck width. To get your neck depth, 15 divided by 6 is 2.5 plus ½ inch. You will mark 3 inches. Okay. So 8 inches. The 8 inches that I have here, that's the same that I marked here. 8 inches. So I'm going to connect this 1 inch shoulder strand to the neckline. I'm going to mark the measurement. Bust measurement divided by 4 plus ease allowance. You can use 0.75, 1 inch, 1.25, 1.5, depending on how loose you want it. The bust measurement I'm working with is 46. 46 divided by 4 is 11.5 plus 1 inch for ease. (12.5). The hip measurement I'm working with is 46. 46 divided by 4 is 11.5 plus 1 inch for ease. So hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for ease, 0.75 for ease, or 1.25 or 1.5 for ease. So now I added 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for ease. So the same measurement that I have here, I'll mark it on the length of the dress. (11.5 plus 1 inch for ease is 12 and half. And half. The waist measurement, what you can do to give it a little shape, you will come in by 1/2 inch, or you can still use your waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for ease, or you can just come in by 1/2 inch. Then you will connect it. If you, this is loose, this shirt is loose shirt, it's free shirt, free dress, but if you want to add that to your own, you don't need 1 inch for ease. So to add that to your own, this is waist measurement, half of your bust span measurement, like mine is 9 inches, I'll mark 4 and half here, 4 and half, the same 4 and half here and 4 and half here. So this is chest line, I'll come down by 1 inch. Hip line, I'll go up by 2 inches. On the waistline, I'll mark 1/2 inch on both sides, then I'll connect the line. I've connected the darts, but the measurement that I have here is not for that. So if you want that on your own, you will use your bust measurement divided by 4. Your waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for that. Your hip measurement divided by 4. The measurement you have on the lower part here is what you have on your hip measurement. If you want that also, but you want it a little bit loose, a little bit free, you add like 0.25, quarter of an inch for ease. If you want that, 0.25 for ease, but it's optional. I'm going to connect the armhole. Midpoint, I came in by 0.75, so I'll connect the armhole. I've not added any seam allowance to this. I'll add seam allowance when I put it on top of my fabric. So I'll cut it out and show you. But normally I cut this directly on my fabric. The lower part here, you can curve it. Maybe you can come up like 3 to 4 inches. And you curve it to this line. I'm going to cut it. I don't want that on my own. I'll use the measurement that I have here. You'll add seam allowance, neckline, shoulder, armhole, side, and the lower part. You put it on top of your fabric and add seam allowance. So I'm going to cut it now, but I don't want that. I'll use the measurement that I have here. To cut it, I'll fold this part in. I've cut it. So I'll keep it aside. I'll do the back one. This front pattern, you need 2 of this. You need 2 of this, but make sure that your fabric is right side facing each other or wrong side facing each other. This is back pattern. This is starting line, shoulder line. I have 2 inches up here. I came down by 1 inch, shoulder slant. Neck width of 3 inches because the front pattern neck width is 3 inches. Neck depth of 1/2 inch. So I have extra here because I want to add pleat to the back. So, but if you don't want the pleat, you don't need this. So all your measurement will be on this line. All my measurement will be on this line. The pleat is extra. So this is center back line. This is bust line, waistline, hip line, length of the dress. The same with the front. So if you want that to your own, you add that to your own. But I don't want that. So quarter of my bust measurement plus 1 inch for ease. How many inches you add for ease is optional. You can add 0.75, you can add 1 inch, you can add 1.5, 1.25. It depends on what you want. Hip measurement, you can add ease to it also. You can also use your waist measurement and add ease to it. But the measurement you have on your hip line, that's the measurement you mark on the lower part. So I'll mark it and show you. The same with the front. So I've marked it. Bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for ease. Hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for ease. The same measurement that I have here is what I mark on the lower part. So this is waistline. I came in by ½ inch and connected it back. So now I'm going to curve the armhole. I'll get the midpoint. I'll curve the lower part the same as the front. I marked 4 inches and curve it to this line. You can also mark 5 inches. You'll curve it to this line, or you put the front pattern on top and use it to trim it. So I've curved the lower part. So what I'll do next is to mark the yoke. So how many inches you mark for your yoke is optional. You can mark 4.5 from here, center back line. 4.5, 4 inches, but I'll mark 4.5. Or you can, this is my armhole midpoint, or you can mark your armhole midpoint. So I'll use 4.5. From this line, 4.5 is 5 inches. So it's at the midpoint. I'll connect the yoke. So you know that shirt pattern, the back pattern is longer than the front pattern. So I'll get the front one. So I'll minus 1 inch from this front pattern. I'll add it to the back pattern. So I'll mark 1 inch. This is the front pattern. This is 1 inch. So this 1 inch, I'll transfer it to the back pattern. So what I'll do, normally I mark this directly on my fabric, but please, if you don't know how to do it, don't mark directly on your fabric. Just trim off this 1 inch and put this on top of your fabric and add all your seam allowance and cut it. So but I'll trim this off because I'll add it to this back one. To add it to the back one, what I'll do, I'll mark 1 inch. 1 inch. This is the back pattern. If you're marking directly on your fabric, you mark 1 inch. After that, you make sure that it's the same with this. You make sure, because this 1 inch here, you're going to join it to this line. And this line, you're going to join it to this line, because when you sew it, is this line and this line that you're going to sew together. So you will measure what you have on this line. You will measure what you have on this line and make sure that is what you have on this line. You will measure what you have on this line and make sure that is what you have on this line. If you're drafting it directly on your fabric. So, but if you're not doing it directly on your fabric, what you need to do is to just cut out this 1 inch and put it on top of this one. When you cut out this 1 inch, this edge will be on this side. This side, you will put it on this line. So what I'm trying to explain is that you minus 1 inch from the front pattern and add it to the back pattern. To do that, you can cut this off and tape it to this line, or you will do it the same way I did it. You will mark 1 inch and connect it and make sure that the measurements are the same. So, but if you're making it for a man, you minus 1.5 and add it to the back one, 1.5 inches, like. So this is front pattern. If you want pleat, box pleat on your dress, at the back of your dress, you will add it on this line. This is center back line. But if you don't want pleat on it, you will trim this off. From this line, you cut this off. So I'm going to add pleat to it. I'll use like 0.75, 1 inch, 2 inch, 1.5. I will use like 2 inches from this yoke line. This is the yoke line, 2 inches to the end. So I'm going to cut it because I'm not marking it directly on my fabric, but sometimes I do mark it directly on my fabric. So you can just do it like this if you don't know how to mark it directly on your fabric. So now what I'll do now is to cut it this way, and this is the yoke. If you don't want to sew yoke to your own, you just want it straight, what you do is to fold this in, this pleat. If you don't want the pleat also, you fold this pleat in, or you can cut it off if you don't want it, or fold it in, put it on top of your fabric. Your fabric will be on fold because this is the back pattern. The back pattern will be on fold. You put it on your fabric and add your seam allowance. You're not going to add seam allowance here because it will be on fold. You add your seam allowance on the lower part, the side, armhole, shoulder and neckline. So, but if you want yoke, if you want yoke and you don't want the pleat, you will still fold this in, or you cut off this pleat, this extra 2 inches. You can cut it off, or you fold it in and cut the yoke. You add your seam allowance on the neckline. This yoke is single, but you put your fabric on fold and put it on top of your fabric and cut out 2 yoke. Then, but if you want the pleat and want yoke, you put it like this. If you want the pleat and want yoke, you will cut this out. You will cut it this way. If you're not marking directly on your fabric, you will cut it this way. You will add seam allowance. You put your fabric on fold because the center back will be on fold. And put this on top. Add your seam allowance, half inch, half inch, half inch, and the end. Then the yoke, you add your seam allowance, neckline, shoulder, armhole, half inch seam allowance. This is single, but you put your fabric on fold and put it on top to cut it because your fabric will be on fold. Your fabric will be on fold. This will be cut on fold, and this back one will be cut on fold also. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.